Hey everybody, I'm having some technical difficulties today. I cannot get this to work through my computer for some reason. It won't let me click go live. So I'm gonna just try and hold my phone. I'm sorry, it's a little bit shaky. So first things first, I have an announcement. I have finished my To the Teens Understanding Emotions packet, and it is gonna be available on my website for $2.99 later this afternoon. In this packet, I tell teens what emotions are. I talk to them about how to process emotions. I tell them when they need to talk to an adult. We talk about how teens are different with emotions, how boys and girls process emotions differently. It is an awesome packet, and it will be available. I'll put some pictures so you can kind of see what it looks like in the group. All right, let's switch things up. We've been talking about emotions a lot, mostly because I've been preparing this packet, and so I've been studying a lot about emotions. And let's talk about our teens' bedrooms. This is a common source of conflict, sometimes between parents and teens, and so let's take this apart a little bit. So, I do feel like some teens are naturally a little bit cleaner than others. There definitely are skills involved, and it takes a lot of motivation sometimes for a teen to keep their room clean. But my tween is inherently cleaner than my teenager is. I mean, you can look in their rooms and see a big difference, even though I've raised them the same. So keep that in mind, that some people really like things to be clean, and some people are not bothered about it as much. So let's talk about 4 success tips first for how to help your teen keep their room clean, as well as to avoid some of the conflict. So the first, you can probably guess it, this is always my first tip, is to figure out why you want your teen's room to be clean. Why is it important to you? When you walk past their room, does it bother you that it's a mess? What emotions do you feel? What thoughts do you have? Do you feel like you're a failure as a parent? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like you would be judged if someone saw it? What about it bothers you, or does it not bother you? If it doesn't, then this week may not help you a ton, but it might. So first is to kind of figure out how you feel about your teen's room. The second is your teen's room your teen's, or is it yours? So this is important to figure out. You own the home, and so what part of that space is essentially yours, and what part of it is your teen's? What ownership does your teen have of their belongings, of the space, the carpet, the bed? Whose room is it, and whose rules are you guys going to go by? The third is to then discuss it with your teen and say, here's how I feel about the room. It's in our house, but X, Y, and Z is yours, and really divide up the ownership of the bedroom and of the belongings, and who do they belong to, and then kind of help your teen come up with some rules and some guidelines for their room. What do you absolutely expect to happen, and what do you not care so much? For example, you may not want to have them have food in their room because that could be an issue with bugs, or you may not want there to be trash. I mean, that seems like a common rule that there may not be trash in their room. Do you care if their surfaces are organized? Do you care if their clothes are folded in their drawers or hanging in their closet? Do you care about the floor or the carpet? How often do you want them to vacuum? Because it's important to take care of our carpets. And so to really go down and be very specific in their rooms about what their expectations are, what your expectations are, and set some boundaries for what the room is going to look like. So the fourth is then to follow through. So after you've sat down with your teen and you've looked through everything and set some rules, some guidelines, you could even take pictures of what you expect their room to look like and on which days. And then really you have to follow through on it for a while. It's a habit that you want your teens to get into. So let's move on now to some tips that will help both you and your teen. So in 2014, I discovered a book called The Magic Art of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. She's kind of taken off since I read the book. She even had a Netflix or some sort of a movie that I didn't end up, I can't remember if I watched it actually, but her book revolutionized the way that I saw my home and the way that I saw my belongings. And I spent weeks and weeks just sorting through my entire house. And there's a lot of quotes that I'm going to share this week and some tips from her to help your teen. And so the first tip I have is to organize your own things first. So this goes along with that first saying. One of her quotes that she said that I love is, "The urge to point out someone else's failure to tidy is usually a sign that you're neglecting to take care of your own space." After I started deep cleaning, both my husband and all 4 of my kids were like, when are we going to do my room? My husband came home like a man possessed, and he's just started going through his closet and got rid of 3 black bags of clothes that he just knew didn't spark joy. He knew that he didn't like them, and so he just started going through them. And so I didn't have a teen at the time, but but my kids all wanted me to help them go through their rooms. The second thing is to change the way that you talk about cleaning. Do you talk about it as a chore? Do you dread it? Do you put it off? Are you stressed? Are you anxious? What are your emotions and your thoughts about cleaning? Because they will absolutely rub off on your teen and on your kids. The third is to remove the battles. This is not a battle you want to pick. It is not worth fighting over. Allow the emotions for both of you, and talk about it. Your teen would rather fight with you probably than clean their room. And so remove that as an option. Don't allow them to mess up your emotions and for you to react. Stay calm, set your boundaries, set the consequences, and walk away. Fourth is to address the feelings behind clear spaces. This was very interesting to me in the book, and I noticed it as I started to clean. Marie Kondo says, let's imagine a cluttered room. It does not get messy all by itself. You, the person who lives in it, makes the mess. There is a saying that a messy room equals a messy mind. I look at it this way. When a room becomes cluttered, the cause is more than just physical. Visible mess helps distract us from the true source of the disorder. The act of cluttering is really an instinctive reflex that draws our attention away from the heart of the issue. When your room is clean and uncluttered, you have no choice but to examine your inner state. My teen, when we go through and clean a room, she says she doesn't like it. She feels anxious. And so we've talked about this. We've talked about what belongings are, what they mean, why they're important, that clutter can distract us from thinking about other things, deeper things, our emotional state. And so it's a ongoing conversation with her about why it's important to clean a room and how clean it is and what belongings mean and all that. Number 5. So this is a big one. Every couple of months, I go through my kids' rooms with them. And so, especially my teen, and she tends to be a little bit messier than my other kids. And we spend a lot of time talking and chatting. We discuss which items she loves. We go through her clothes. We get rid of anything she doesn't like or the things that don't fit her. We discuss memories of times that she's spent with her toys. We discuss how things have served her, how they haven't served her. We talk about the meaning of items. Everything we own, there's a reason that we own it, and we've made a decision and we have to take care of it. And so we discuss, hey, if you don't have room for this, how are you going to get new things? And so we process old emotions. We talk about gifts and whether or not she wants to keep them. The final thing is to decorate your room with your teen. So their room, make it a sanctuary, ask which spaces they like, they don't like, what areas are working, what areas are not working, and just really help them organize. You can use small boxes. You don't have to spend a lot of money. The drawers that I really spent time organizing when I did Marie Kondo originally are still organized because I used lids and small boxes to keep things in. And so it's just harder for your teen to make a mess if things have a place to go. And a big drawer can get messy really fast, but if it has little containers in it, it's easier for them to put things away. So I just want to close by saying, Marie says, by handling each item and deciding what to discard, you process your past. To put things in order means to put your past in order too. It's like resetting your life and settling your accounts so that you can take the next step forward. Our teens are leaving childhood behind, and so they need help processing the past, processing their old toys, processing old gifts, processing papers, and going through all of these things so that they can move into adulthood. So, hey Jennifer, good to see you. So I hope this has been helpful. We'll talk about it this week in detail. Feel free to drop any comments underneath this video. Thanks. Bye.